Hi, my name is Mike Pirog, and you might know me as the co-founder of Kalamuna. We are the heart of Drupal development in the San Francisco Bay in Oakland. We do Drupal agency work and support, and we also are the inventors of the Calabox and Kalatheme. This is episode 97 of the Modules Unraveled podcast, and here we are.
Perfect. Well, welcome to the Modules Unraveled podcast. My name is Brian Lewis, and today I have with me Mike Pirog. Mike is a co-founder at Kalamuna LLC, a Drupal agency located in downtown Oakland in the San Francisco Bay Area. Mike is in charge of Kalamuna's product development, which aims to provide easy-to-use and empowering solutions to Drupal newbies and veterans alike. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good, Brian. It's nice to be back.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking before we started that you were the very first person I had on when I did this live. And
That's right, I was. It was magical.
So it's good to have you back. It's kind of like a reunion of sorts.
It is a reunion. I feel very much like this is a reunion.
I know. I feel like we're long lost friends that haven't talked for however long it's been. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it's like.
Cool. So let's move on to away from this ranting. Do you want to tell us, for those who didn't catch your last interview or podcast, whatever it is, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Mike. I'm originally from the New England area. I did some Drupal consulting and like nonprofit work in DC for like 10 years. I realized that I hate it there. Came over to the Bay where all the action's happening, and started Kalamuna maybe a year and a half ago with two other people, and now we've grown to a larger organization, 10, 15 people, and we're really excited. We think we're doing really cool work over here that other people aren't doing, and we're making Drupal better.
Cool. Awesome. So I can't remember myself. So how did you actually get started with Drupal, and when was that?
So like everyone else, I got started as Drupal. It was a mistake, basically. I don't have a computer science background. I studied mathematics in college, which is closer than a lot of people to computer science. Some people are like, I was a librarian or whatever. And
well, I was a music teacher.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, music's good. I like music. Probably should have stuck with that instead of Drupal. Anyway, so I ran into like the classic problem. Like I didn't really know what I was doing out of college. I kind of knew about tech stuff, and I built websites as a kid. So some nonprofit in Washington, D.C. hired me, and their website was a mess. They needed a bunch of help, and I did what everyone normally does, which is like, you know a little bit of PHP, so you just like build your own CMS. Like I'm going to build Facebook for these people, and then you do, and then you find out that there's like a bunch of other stuff out there, and people have already done this before, and then you're like, oh, Drupal, and then that was kind of the pathway as I discovered it. I realized that I didn't have to build these things myself. I could leverage existing tools, and then I was like, oh, open source exists. There's all this great stuff here. And instead of reinventing it, why don't I just add on to it, and then some really magical things can happen. So that was kind of the path. But it's kind of a common story, so not too special.
Do you know when that was or how long ago it was?
I guess like 2007.
Okay.
It was the year the Patriots broke my heart by not going undefeated, whenever that was.
Nice. Okay, so just because I'm curious, I like to hear this. What's a recent project that you've been working on?
So I do most of like the product stuff at Kalamuna, and that's kind of a wide tent. That includes Kalatheme, which is what we're going to talk about today, but also includes Calabox, which is like a Drupal development tool. Really easy to use and really powerful at the same time. I also, just started we're just finishing working up on WebSpark, which is a one-click, distribution for Arizona State University. We've been working with Pantheon on building that, so I've been working on that too. It was a lot of fun. Okay,
cool. Before we jump into Kalatheme, I wanted to say if anybody's watching right now, you can send in any questions or comments that you have throughout the show using the hashtag MUP097. And we will answer those at the end of the show once we get back to them. Again, that's MUP097. Send it in on Twitter. You can even just say, "Hey, I'm listening," and that'd be cool. So, all right. So Kalatheme. First off, what is Kalatheme?
So Kalatheme is a Drupal theme. It's a product on Drupal.org. It's based on Twitter Bootstrap, Bootstrap 3 mostly, although you can use Bootstrap 2 in the older versions.
Okay.
And it's built, unlike other Bootstrap themes, it's built specifically for the panels paradigm. So if you're a context user or a blocks user, you're going to have some trouble probably getting used to Kalatheme, although I would highly encourage you to make the switch.
Yeah.
So that's, in a nutshell, that's what Kalatheme does. It also, one of the things that we try to do at Kalamuna, it's like one of our overarching principles, is whenever we build a new tool, for ourselves internally, that's easy to use for us because we're, Drupal experts and professionals. We also think it's really important to make those tools accessible to people who, normally wouldn't be able to use these things on their own. We think that that's one, just a great design kind of principle. It enables us to make products that are both powerful and empowering. But at the same time, Drupal needs new blood, and it really needs new blood. And there's a lot of people that are intimidated by Drupal's learning curve. So if we can provide solutions to them that are easy to use and help them get into the ecosystem, people that get into the ecosystem usually stay in the ecosystem. So I think that's one of the things that Kalatheme does really well. That a lot of these other themes, don't really focus on because they're built basically just for developers.
Right. Cool. Okay. So you mentioned briefly that this is good with panels, but not context. Do you want to expand on that a little bit about what parts of panels work really well and are integrated?
Sure. So we had this, maybe 2 years ago, I think it was at DrupalCon Denver. Matt Cheney over at Pantheon showed me the Panoply distribution, and I was a huge context guy before that, and then looking at Panoply and the user experience, it was obvious to me that all Drupal sites should be built this way. That the in-place editor, if you're not familiar with the in-place editor, it's this really nice drag and drop kind of interface. That a lot of these other sites like Squarespace and these other site building kind of toolkits that are online, they have these tools that are familiar, drag and drop. You can click and get some options, and you can do a lot of stuff through the UI. And Drupal really lacked that until the in-place editor existed. So we really wanted to kind of leverage that as much as possible with Kalatheme, and context is a really great tool, and it can do a lot of great things, but it's really more for developers and less for end users, So what we wanted to do with Kalatheme is if we could package in all these tools through the in-place editor, clients understand that interface, and if you can build easy-to-use, clickable tools in there, they can do a lot of stuff on their own, and that makes them happy. It makes them unhappy when they ask, when they want to pay a developer or a shop like Kalamuna $150 an hour or whatever to do something that seems trivial, So if we can build tools to empower them, I think that it makes a big difference. So that was one of the reasons why we chose the in-place editor as the kind of the backbone of all the things, all the magic that makes Kalatheme a great theme.
Okay. Yeah, and that can answer my next question, which was I don't have experience personally with the panels in-place editor, so I was going to say, what functionality does that provide? But the drag and drop and everything you just said kind of answers that, so I'll skip it.
Okay.
So it's built on Bootstrap. What version of Bootstrap is it using?
So the most recent version of Kalatheme uses Bootstrap 3, and the older version of Kalatheme uses Bootstrap 2.
Gotcha. And so Bootstrap 3 has Sass built in, right?
Bootstrap 3, yeah. Well, actually, I'm not sure. I think it might be less still. Bootstrap 2 is less. Bootstrap 3 might be Sass, but there are definitely projects out there that Sassify Bootstrap 3 if you wanted to get kickstarted. Okay. Yeah, and there's actually a Kalatheme Sass project on GitHub, so you can leverage if you want to use Sass to pre-process and stuff. There's a project on GitHub as well. But one of the features that's really nice for Kalatheme that other Bootstrap-driven themes don't have is if you want to take advantage of that functionality, that power that you can have by pre-processing your CSS and all that stuff. There's this really nifty tool on Bootstrap on the Bootstrap's website where they basically have a front end, a Sass or less front end, on their website where you can go and you can actually do that customization yourself with through these inputs and stuff. It lets you pick colors and how many responsive columns you want, what you want your gutter sizes to be, and all of that. And you can click compile at the end of it, and it will spit out this Bootstrap library. And when you build a subtheme in Kalatheme through the UI, you can throw this library in there, So even if you don't know anything about Sass and you've never even heard of a CSS processor, you can like CSS preprocessor, you can like take advantage of all that power yourself just through the UI, which is I think a really huge feature that a lot of people want to use.
Okay, so what would you say is the recommended route? Because I write Sass, so what would the route be if I wanted to use Sass with Kalatheme?
So if you're a more advanced developer, like you'll definitely want to just use the Sass straight up, like with the Sass Kalatheme project or Kalatheme Sass project, whatever it's called on GitHub. And I think that there's like some info on the Kalatheme documentation as well that like talks about like how you would do that. There are also like drush commands. So like that's one of the things that we try to do is like we've got all the tools that normal developers, hardcore developers expect, but we also wanted to like make those tools accessible to new people as well, which is why we built the Subtheme Generator through the UI. So you can spin up these subthemes and kind of pull in kind of whatever you want, whatever Bootstrap theme you want. If you want to use one of the Bootswatch themes, or if you want to use Wrap Bootstrap, or if you want to use the customization utility, all you need to have is a zip file with files in it, and you can input it into the Kalatheme Subtheme Generator, and it'll just do its thing, and you'll get really far down the road and not have to waste your time setting that stuff up.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask about that. You on the project page, I think it says it leverages the entire spectrum of Bootstrap themes. So, so what are some of those? What are the benefits of using a different one versus the default Bootstrap theme? And yeah, so how would you do that? Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, stock Bootstrap is kind of ubiquitous at this point. People kind of see it and they know what it is. So I think one of the things that people try to do now is to try to like pretend that they're not using Bootstrap. And the best way to do that is to just kind of build your own Bootstrap-driven theme that has its own stylings and stuff like that. But because it's Sass and or less driven, preprocessor-driven, you can change it around a lot. And I think the real obvious examples are on this bootswatch.com site. Those are all Bootstrap. Like you can look at them and you can tell that they're Bootstrap. But the stylings are different. They have different typefaces and stuff like that. So if you're interested in doing something a little bit different, that looks different than normal Bootstrap, you can like use any of those. But there are also like, if you like go to Google and you type in, like Twitter Bootstrap free themes or whatever, you'll have all sorts of crap come out, And most of those things you can also take and put into Kalatheme. Obviously, like there's only so much you can do. Like some people say that they're Bootstrap themes, but it's just like stock Bootstrap and then like their own custom CSS. So you do have to do a little bit of pruning on your end to make sure that you're not ingesting like this giant, chaos-driven mess of CSS. Right. But theoretically, you can use any of these libraries that have, Sass or less driven Bootstrap compiled files, CSS and the JS, and import them into Kalatheme and start from that point. And we think that's really, really powerful, a really, really powerful tool.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to try that out. So you also mentioned that you use it to rapidly build responsive Bootstrap 3-driven subthemes. What's that subtheme generator look like, or what's the process of actually using that?
So the Subtheme Generator, it basically mimics the drush functionality and vice versa. So there's not really too much responsive stuff built into the actual Subtheme Generator. There's a bunch of really cool responsive tools built into the panels in place editor that you can use. But the Subtheme Generator itself is a very simple GUI. Basically, like you install Kalatheme. I think you go onto the theme like appearances page or whatever, and you have another action that you can take. It's like set up Kalatheme. I think it's under the like normal like install a new theme thing. You click on it. As long as your like web server is like writable by like by the Drupal user or whoever is doing that sort of action. You can pick a couple of really basic options like the name of your subtheme. What you want the base theme to be. Like if you're doing this subtheme chaining, you can pick a different base theme. You can pick normal Bootstrap or any of these Bootswatch themes, or this custom like zip file that you can upload into it. You can choose to include like font awesome, and then you can like choose like whether you want to like set up and enable the theme, so it's like good to go after you go through the process. And you just click submit. It runs this like batch thing, and you've got a subtheme with all these custom things set up for you, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. I kind of wish that we could do like a demo after this, because that's really.
I can totally show you if you want. Actually, there's a YouTube video that demos the whole thing on Pantheon.
Okay.
I think if you just like if you like Google like I think it's like Kalatheme on Pantheon or something, you'll get a funny little YouTube video that demos like the whole setup workflow.
Cool. I'll make sure to put that in the notes.
Yeah, very cool.
which I guess I should say the show notes will be at modulesunraveled.com/podcast, just so that you know where to find that if you're listening. Okay, so
the Kalatheme documentation is really, really good at this point too. Like, we spent a long time like going through, and so if you just you go to the Drupal.org project page and click on like read documentation, like there's like the whole list of stuff that you need to like get set up.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so we mentioned subtheming. Now, is this a base theme that people should subtheme, or is it something that can be used out of the box?
You can use it out of the box if you want to, but yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Like, you can use any theme out of the box if you want to.
Right.
But no, it's really designed to be a subtheme, and that was kind of the way that we looked at it. It is a base theme, but we looked at it more as like a different theming paradigm to begin with, which is like not just like it uses a base theme, but uses a portal to other Bootstrap-driven themes, So you really kind of are you can think about it less as a base theme and more of just like a mechanism for you to build Bootstrap themes for Drupal. I think that's kind of more of the way to think about it. But technically, yes, it is a base theme. You should use it as a base theme. That's why we included the Subtheme Generator, so you can just go in and you can do that really easily if you don't know how to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, last time you were on the show, we were talking about, I don't know if it was this, but you were talking about building Bootstrap themes for Drupal and the issues that you were running into.
Right,
do you remember what any of those big issues were that you guys had to overcome in order to get this out, working?
Yeah, a lot of the issues were resolved, and we actually helped resolve some of them. One of them was, Drupal was, Bootstrap was requiring jQuery 1.7, and at that time, like, Drupal wasn't really mostly views and CTools things were breaking with that. That's all fixed now.
Okay.
Which is good. And the other big thing was this idea of Bootstrap is a third party library, and at the time it wasn't compatible with the license that Drupal has.
Gotcha.
And I think now it is, which is nice. So you couldn't really roll it into your project, or you shouldn't have rolled it into the project itself because that violates the whole license situation.
Right.
So we needed to figure out how to get libraries to work in a theme so that we could do that the right way. So that was another big problem, but that was we had a little workaround for it, and then eventually libraries just added that functionality into their thing. So those are the two roadblocks, and I think they're both gone now, so that's nice.
Cool. Awesome. And you also mentioned drush commands. Now, what are the drush commands that work with Kalatheme, or what are you guys providing there?
Right, so the drush commands just mimic the Subtheme Generator. So basically, you can run drush Kalatheme, and you'll have options to name the subtheme, whether you want to include Font Awesome, what you want the and then what Bootstrap library you want to use, normal Bootstrap, any of the Bootstrap themes, or point to some sort of zip file, and that will pull in and do the same thing that the Subtheme Generator does.
Okay.
So the drush files just mimic the Subtheme Generator and vice versa.
Okay, and those are the only drush commands? There's nothing to use after it's generated?
No, not right now.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Real quickly, just wanted to say again, if you are watching live right now, you can send in any questions or comments using the hashtag MUP097, and we will get those on Twitter. I promise. I'm not going to ignore you. Okay, so my next question is around target audiences. So what do you actually see as the target audience for Kalatheme, or maybe target audiences?
Sure. So I think there are three core audiences for Kalatheme, which is nice because normally themes just have one.
Yeah.
The first is us here at Kalamuna. We wanted to build something to help our workflows. We think that this does this pretty well. And the second audience is kind of an extension of that. We wanted to help developers, who, if you have a huge project budget and you can build a theme ground up so that it matches awesome design and stuff, that's great. You should totally do that. But that's not everyone's situation. A lot of people just want to get the basic kind of things taken care of really quickly, the things that are more annoying. And then with the money that they save from doing that, then they can focus on making their theme really great for their client. So that's another one of the audiences that we were looking at. And the third audience, which I think is the most important audience, is we wanted to build a tool that provided all of that really powerful stuff that Bootstrap has, but make it really accessible to anybody. Because it's important to bring new people into Drupal and to get them excited about the possibilities. And traditionally, Drupal is Drupal is by developers and built for developers.
Right.
And the downside of that is that's why it powers only 2% of the internet. If you had Drupal as a more accessible tool to people who would use it if they could, then you can expand the horizon, and ultimately that's in our collective interest. As someone who likes Drupal and like as a business owner, like we need those people to be part of the ecosystem. Right. So that was kind of the third piece and the most important piece, really. And I wish I encourage other Drupal shops and companies and anyone to think about doing that with some of the great products that they release as well.
Okay. And do you know of any sites right now that are using Kalamuna that we could look at as examples if we wanted to?
Using Kalatheme?
Yeah, sorry, Kalatheme.
Sure. So like the OpenASU distro uses it. I don't think there's a bunch of sites. I could send you a list of a bunch of sites that they use.
What was the distro?
It's called WebSpark. It's the distro for Arizona State University.
Gotcha.
They use it. I think like this billboard, advertising.billboard.com was built with Kalatheme. I think on the actual. I actually don't work on any of these, so I don't really know. But
okay.
I'm looking at it right now. The Kalatheme like page I think has a list of like sites that use it. I'm going there myself right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so our like home site is on Kalatheme, the Social Coding for Good site, and then there's a bunch of projects that we're working on internally that are using Kalatheme as well, like the GreenBiz, which is like this large nonprofit that kind of like does communication between like business sector and like renewable, sustainable, green things. They're based in San Francisco. They're going to be built on Kalatheme. All the clients that we work on are built on Kalatheme. I think at this point, without exception. I'm trying to think. Ron Paul's personal blog is on Kalatheme.
All right, there you go.
A funny fact, which I'll probably get shit about now, but it's true. I submit all complaints to Andrew Ward on that, by the way. So we've got a bunch of stuff running on it. I can definitely send you a list of all the things if you want to post it somewhere.
I think we'll just say go to the project page and you'll see them there.
Yeah, and there's like a page that's like there's a sub page that's like themes built on Kalatheme. There's a bunch in there too.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay, that's all the questions I had. Let me check Twitter real quick and refresh to see if anybody else had questions. Is there anything that you want to say as kind of a last word before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that I hit most of the things here. Basically, just like if you're an end user who wants to like take advantage of like some of the normal functionality that people see in the front end experience, responsive, cross-browser like compatibility and things like that, I would definitely check out the project for sure. It's really easy to get set up, and there's great documentation for it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out because my theme right now is all pieced together. I need to get it figured out. So, cool. All right, well, that's everything I had. Before we do the wrap up, I want to throw in a quick plug for Node Squirrel. Have you used Node Squirrel, or do you guys use it at Kalamuna?
Node Squirrel, the book series?
No, the backup and migrate service, basically.
Oh, right. We might does Pantheon use that? I don't know if they use it or not. Then no,
Pantheon has their own thing. Okay, well, just so that you know what it is, Node Squirrel is by the guys at Gorton Studios who do the backup and migrate module. It's basically their backup as a service, helps fund the development of the backup and migrate module, and it's cool. It's great. You just plug in your API key and you back up to their offsite servers, and plans start at $5 a month, so they're super cheap. Yeah, anywho.
Great.
Want to mention that. Oh, and I should say, I talked to them, and they sent me up a coupon code, Start to Grow, which will give you the first 12 months half price.
Okay.
So that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Cool. So let's go ahead and wrap up. What is something that you're excited about that is up and coming?
I think the thing that I'm most excited about is people using. I guess there are three things. One, the backdrop CMS. That's like a Drupal 8 backport into Drupal 7 compatibility thing. I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool that they did that. I'm really excited about that project. And there's like a lot of possibility there, and it's good because there's like going to be a huge market, I think, for people who aren't ready to make the jump to Drupal 8, but who want to have this kind of like this in between space. So I think that's going to be like really cool.
Yeah, I actually had Jen and Nate on episode 81, along with John Alban-Wilkins and Alex Bronstein, and we kind of talked about Drupal 8 and Backdrop and what the future looks like for both of those.
Yeah, Drupal 8's going to, I mean, they made some like really big improvements, but it's going to intimidate a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to leave. I think that there are a lot of Drupal shops that are maybe thinking about doing something else. So it'll be interesting. It's a very interesting time for Drupal, a very critical time. It'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, one of the things that we've talked about a lot too, and this is one of the things that I'm really interested in, which is, you know, Drupal is 10 years old, which like for an open source product is like a dinosaur. So there's like a lot of stuff in there from like a long time ago still.
Yeah.
And you know, it's been harder for it to keep up with like sexier frameworks like Rails and, you know, like all this Node.js and AngularJS and all that backbone stuff. You know, so what I'm really interested to see is people who are Drupal people who recognize that problem and use Drupal in a different way. And what I mean by that is basically like services. Using Drupal as like a backend for services that connect into these other frameworks. And I think that's something that I'm really interested to see people do. And we've done a couple of things like that here that I think are pretty encouraging and exciting. You know, and I think that's going to be a very interesting and viable model for people, for development and for business also.
Cool.
And the third thing that I'm really excited about is all the things that we're doing here. So
that's a kind of a cop-out answer, but I'll take it.
Yeah, sorry.
No, all right. And where can people find out more about you, Kalatheme, or get a hold of you, or you know, all those things? Sure,
Kalamuna.com. It's pretty much got like all of our stuff on there. So you can definitely check out that for most of the stuff. Kalatheme is a product on Drupal.org. So that's probably the best way for you to find info on it there. It's got good documentation. It's pretty easy to find. So
cool.
And if you go to Drupal.org and just like search the themes for like Bootstrap panels, it's like the first or second or third thing that comes up. So
okay, cool. Yeah, and we'll have a link straight to it from the show notes too.
Yeah.
Which again will be at modulesunraveled.com/podcast. And I think that's everything. Cool. So Mike, thanks for coming back on and being my. I don't know if you're my first repeat guest. I think you might
really?
be. No.
Wow.
No, I don't think you are. But you're definitely my first.
For a second, my heart was warming up. I was like, wow.
You know what? You're my favorite repeat guest.
There we go. There we go, Brian Lewis. Let's keep the magic going. Let's keep the magic going. We got more things to talk about. You know?
No,
it doesn't have to be Drupal. You know. Let's do an American history session.
Oh, I hate history. Ugh.
Let's do astrology session. What's your sign? You know.
I'm Cancer. What does that mean?
I have no idea. We'll have to research for next time.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, let's wrap this one up then.
All right.
So thanks. It's always good talking to you, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
All right, man. It was a pleasure.